Welcome to Business Processes for Creatives. I couldn't think of a better name, so that's what it is. And the agenda that we're going to go over today in this presentation, first my story, how I got to where I'm at. Some of you know my story, but this is particular to building processes for the business. So it's how and why I'm here talking to you today about this. What I learned in this midst and the books I've read and the people I've talked to that have helped me understand these concepts, and then the current steps I'm taking to put everything I've learned into practice. And throughout this presentation, it will touch upon what Jeremy was talking about. He had mentioned that he's getting low-end clients that don't have money and they don't really know about business. And so I believe that the more that we know about business, the better that we can share we'll attract. So the more we know about business, the more we're going to attract those people who also know about business. I also realize that I'm going to have to admit a few people while we're talking, so forgive me. I'll stop at every section, and then I'm going to let people in, and also you guys can ask questions during that time. So we'll start with my story. So I felt, and I sometimes still feel, overwhelmed, a sense of chaos, and I feel like I'm consistently reinventing the wheel. And this was where I started to pursue building business processes because I realized that it would help with all of these things. And the reason why I felt overwhelmed is because I was reinventing the wheel every single time, and then I was charging less, which Julianne had mentioned that she was low bidding on things because nothing for me was set in stone. So I wanted, what I really did want when I sat down and asked myself, I wanted a sustainable and scalable business. I had no idea how to do that. I wanted confidence and peace. I wanted confidence in the prices that I was asking, and I wanted peace knowing that I could actually deliver on what I said I could. And I also wanted to connect more with my ideal client. If I thought that I wanted to connect with the CEOs of very innovative companies that are willing to invest in amazing projects that they don't care how much it takes, they see the vision in front of them and they will throw money at it. That's the kind of people that I wanted to attract. But I wasn't that person. So how could I expect myself to attract that type of person if I myself am not like that? And my most recent client is definitely my ideal client in his mindset, in the way he pursues his vision. And it's like the dream client that everybody wants, where you could propose anything and they would be like, that is such a cool idea, let's do it. Like, it's not just the brand identity or the messaging. It's like I could suggest something in their business that would help connect with their ideal client, and they would be all for trying it out, or as long as it aligns with his vision. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I think there's more people out there like this. But again, I need to be like that myself. And I wanted a business that ran like a well-oiled machine. And I didn't want that well-oiled machine to be me. I wanted it to be my business. And I think a lot of us as designers, especially ones that start off as designers or a skilled profession that turn into maybe a freelancer, and then they think, okay, I want to start a business. We take on the burden and everything of our business. And so without us, our business cannot run. And I don't want that. Like, I want to take a day off. I want to be sick one day and know that my business is okay and that it's still running, and that I don't have to constantly be on all the time. And so I think that's what was also contributing to me feeling overwhelmed, because I'm trying to contain everything in my head and not get it out of me. So last year, there was a pivotal moment in my life. Besides meeting Christo, being on the Futur, I started to offer strategy. And that was me going from a questionnaire for branding clients to going to strategy, so a strategy framework. But as I was learning strategy, I never actually wrote down the process. And I'm talking process from start to finish. Like, do I need to buy snacks to bring to the meeting? Do I need to plan for lunch? Do I have an agenda for the day? I was in the midst of learning strategy So I didn't write it down. I had the framework that I used, but that's it. I didn't have anything leading up. I didn't quantify things. I didn't think how much time am I putting in just planning the meeting room if they're coming into town and I'm not going to their office. Or if I'm going to their office, what if I have to get a hotel room? What if I have to rent a car? There's those questions that I never answered until I had to do them like day of. So I never had a written down strategy, or never wrote down my strategy process when I switched from the questionnaire. And then I kept trying to add more services to be everything to everyone. And I was constantly innovating, but then never fully documenting those processes. That's like me trying to offer social media after we've done strategy. And then I thought, oh yeah, I can do that too. I'll figure it out. Okay. Then I did it, but then I never fully documented that process. And then someone else needed something printed. Oh yeah, we can do that. Well, then I never had a process for that. I never had a timeline. So I was constantly adding services that I could potentially do, but then I never was documenting them so then it could be a repeatable process. So it was just mayhem, especially in my head. I was trying to grow without a firm foundation in place, which led to chaos, like my dog barking in the middle of a live filming. So I was constantly playing catch up. Presentation decks were all over the place. Like I would have to, and I still do this. This is something that has on my list. I had to keep recreating a new process, or not a new process deck, but a new deck every single time. So I would copy one and I'd update things, but then I realized the guts of my presentation didn't fit the information I had to put in it. And so it's like I had to constantly, again, reinvent the wheel. And then I would go down on my prices, so similar to what Julianne had said, and couldn't give a firm description of the services that someone was asking me about because nothing I did was set in stone. So I didn't feel confident in stating this is my price because I look back at my previous history and it's all over the place. I had nothing consistent and repeatable that I could go back on and remember, oh, that's what I did. Even if I was doubling my prices, at least I saw, okay, that's the process I used for that client at $5,000. Now I'm going to use the same process, but maybe tweak a few things for now when I say it's going to be $10,000. But it was really hard to feel confidence when I thought to myself, well, gosh, I'm going to have to reinvent the wheel again. And I didn't want that. So I'm sure you guys have heard work on your business more than in your business. But I thought to myself, well, what does that even mean? Because what I thought it was working on my website, working on my branding, or I don't know, there's all those things that us as designers think of that we want to do for companies. That's what I thought of when I thought of, oh, I need to work on my business. It should be my branding and whatnot. But that's not really what it means. It's part of it, but it's definitely not everything. So while I move on to the next part, you guys can ask questions. You can turn your mic on, ask questions, and I'm going to let people in. So anyone have any questions so far, or can you relate to anything that I just said? At all? No? Okay, I will go on. So what I learned, I'm going to take you through the process of what, let's see, you can really, thank you. I appreciate that. So I'll take you through the process of what I learned and how I got to where I'm at. So there's Trina. So she was in the Futur Pro group. I met her and we had a Futur meetup a few months back. And we were all of us were frustrated and in the same place, sharing that all of our processes are all over the place and we didn't know how to do this. And so Trina, who was there, her and her business partner from Left Right Labs have their processes nailed down. And so they were describing to us what that looked like for them, how they learned it. They went through the You Gurus program. And so that is specifically for web designers and I think web agencies. And so they were just talking to us about that. And we were all very intrigued because that's what we were missing. We were mainly missing that, that process piece. And the structure too, because we keep learning all these things like how do you reply to a client with objections and how do you face your fears, and those are all great things, but if you don't have a firm foundation of your business, then good luck. Like you can keep doing all that stuff all day long, but it's not going to be scalable and it's not going to grow. So these were the 3 books that that I have went through recently that completely changed my mindset, and 2 of which Trina and Gretchen had shared with me, Work the System and Built to Sell. Trina and Gretchen, although they run a web agency and branding, they also do consulting for this type of stuff. So I think it's they do an hourly rate and they'll talk with you about processes. And so I went through it with them. And they also build processes for businesses. So even though their main thing is design, it's really interesting that they have done so well at building their processes that they now are building them for their own clients, which I think is really cool because that's a service you would not think a creative business would do. So we'll go through the 3 books and the main things that I got out of them, but I would also suggest if this is something that you guys want to start doing for your own business, that you go buy these books, because they each, although they overlap a ton, they each open your mindset to learn things and see things in a different way if you've come at it the same way I have. So with Work the System, I have to move my thing. Okay. So every business is a system, a collection of processes that together reliably produces an intended result. And so that's what I thought, okay, that's what I need. I need something that is reliable and consistent. And our job as the owners of these businesses is to work our system. So it's to, and you'll understand it more as we go through this presentation. It is to make those processes in the business and then refine them and tweak them. So it's not necessarily actually doing the work of designing or doing the actual technical work of your business. It is to make these processes and make sure they are fine-tuned and keep on tweaking them as you go. And so if you do have employees, if the employee is actually following your process that you have documented and it's written down, it's a step-by-step process, and they have followed it to the T, and something went wrong, the process is to blame and the process needs to change. It doesn't mean that your employee is horrible. It means that your process stinks and you need to fix it. But if the employee did not follow the process, then of course they are to blame. But the idea is to have your processes so dialed in that you could literally get anyone off the street that has that skill and they could execute on it. So it's to make it dummy proof, really. And these systems and processes cannot live only in your head. So it's getting everything that has sat in our head that we think, oh, we're the only ones that know how to do this, and it's too much to tell anybody if I hire someone how to do this. It's because we have not documented anything. So we need to document every single step in how we do things so that as we get the next client and as we keep progressing and scaling, that we can make minor tweaks along the way to the process and we don't have to keep, again, reinventing the wheel. So book number 2 is the EMyth. This so many people have recommended this book to me, so I felt it was finally time for me to read it. Some quotes from it: your business is nothing more than a distinct reflection of who you are. So get this: if your thinking is sloppy, your business will be sloppy. If you are disorganized, your business will be disorganized. And if you're greedy, your employees will be greedy, giving you less and less of themselves and always asking for more. So that really got to me because I was feeling disorganized and I was feeling overwhelmed. And so I thought, well, if I'm feeling like that, it is coming through in my business and it's coming through to my clients as well. And that needs to change. So in the EMyth, he talks about the entrepreneur, the person who wants to start a business for themselves, usually comes in as a disgruntled technician. So someone who's worked for somebody else, they're like, I can do this. I can have my own business. I don't want to report to the man anymore. And so they quit and they start their own business. But what they really are, they're still an order taker. They're still a technician. So that's still the person who is actually hands-on doing the work. but then they're trying to be the entrepreneur and they're trying to be running their own business, but really they need the vision of the entrepreneur, they need the management skills of the manager, and then they need also the person, either themselves or someone else, to be the technician. But just because you start a business does not mean you're an entrepreneur. And so he talks about that a lot in the beginning. And then he talks about actually documenting your plan. So if you guys have read my newsletter, which obviously if you're here, you have, I'm talking a lot about the primary aim and having a vision for your business. And so he talks about having an actually written down plan, but that doesn't mean it can't change. It just means you have a plan. But if you don't, then he describes it that you don't own it at all. You don't own that vision. You don't even own the business if you can't take hold of that vision and write it down. So any plan is better than no plan. Just get something on paper. Doesn't have to be perfect. Another thing that came up, which Aaron Atchison from Farm Design also told us when we went to visit him, know your numbers. And every number, all the numbers, know them. Quantify everything to gauge the health of your business. And I'm talking everything. Like, you can't quantify too much, because you will know. Like, I was even thinking, oh man, if I quantified how long does it take me to run to the store and get the snacks to bring in the water and the LaCroix to the strategy meetings. If I was able to quantify that and then put a number of how much money I could pay someone then, to, like, an assistant, to go run that errand and get it and have pictures of these are the things that we need, this is how many we need of them, then I could potentially hire out for all those menial tasks that I was doing myself, because I literally couldn't just tell somebody what I needed because it wasn't written down and it wasn't something I could replicate. And this was a really cool idea that was mentioned in the EMyth too, that your business is your product, especially if you are not in, and for us too, we aren't in the business of being that innovative. I mean, look at all of us are probably competing against each other, kind of. But if our business is our product, so our customer experience, that goes for us, not just our clients as well, then everything we do and how we do it in our business, that is our product. So if you think of a really, really nice hotel, the room is not the product. The entire experience is the product. So we have to take ourselves out of our business for a second and stop thinking of just branding and websites and logos and those types of products, but actually think of the entire process altogether. So that is from the initial meeting that you have with your client to, what does it say on your invoice? How does your invoice look? Does your website look good? Does when you meet with your client, do you bring an agenda? Do you warn them ahead of time? Do you give them next steps? Do you always keep them informed so that they're never guessing what's going to come next? How does your presentation look? All of it. So it could even be that, like, I went to the dentist yesterday and I hadn't been there for a while. And they looked at the file and they're like, oh, it's been a long time since you've been here. So how's, they like asked me specific questions from when I was last there. And I thought, my gosh, like that, I feel so, I don't know, like there's so much attention on me and you know me. And that's the kind of feeling that I would want my clients to feel too. So to have all that information about someone, so that they feel known and they feel heard. And in the EMyth, he gives an example of someone who runs a hotel. He went to this hotel and they log everything that this guy liked and the type of newspaper and how he likes his coffee. And so that when he's there the next time, they don't have to ask him again. It's just done. And this was really a cool thing to think about, because it encompasses, for not only our businesses, but our clients' business, so much more than just the tiny, tiny project that we're working on. And so we need to think about that in what we're providing for our clients. So create a business that can work without you. So that's another idea that came from really all these books. It shouldn't rely on key people either. It should rely on the system you've created. Now, I know that as consultants, we're kind of riding the line between this kind of a business and just a consultancy, because it does rely on some of our expertise. So, take some of this with a grain of salt and tweak it to your own business. But But to give you an example of how this has happened, my someone I know has a shop, so a boutique, sells clothing, and they hired a manager and relied on this manager so much so that when that manager decided to leave and start her own business, the current business was devastated. It's still running, but it relied so heavily on the person instead of a process that when that person left, everything went with her too. And so the owner was left like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Because I was relying so heavily on this person. But if she would have had processes in place, she could have hired someone and trained them pretty quickly to learn the process and just plug them right back into the whole system. And so if we know these types of things as well, we'll know we can spot these things in our own clients' businesses and not necessarily we don't need to be business consultants, but I think we will start to attract better clients because we're going to have different conversations with a lot of people and even friends, family members. We'll have so many different conversations, but we're going to start spotting, oh, who's in chaos? Who do I not want to work with? That's a red flag. If you don't have a business that has systems in place, then those people don't want to invest much in their business. They're the ASAP clients, right? Oh, I need a logo yesterday. Oh, but I don't have much money for it. Why? Because they're in survival mode and they think that's just going to get them the money, right? But someone with vision, a CEO that knows that he needs to build his way towards that vision, knows that everything is an investment. So book number 3 is Built to Sell. This was another one from Trina and Gretchen that they had recommended. For me, I got the most out of the first half of the book, not really the last half, but it's still really good as in a mixture with every other book that I had mentioned. A big idea from here is standardize your services. So they actually say to specialize in one service. In my talks with like Fabian Gearhalter, who was on Christo's show recently, and a couple other people, in talking to Fabian specifically, he has standardized his services, but he's only offering 3. And so then that got me thinking, okay, that's what I had mentioned in my newsletter, that I might just specialize in 3 for now. And then as I nail those down and feel really comfortable with that, then I will start adding to it if I want to. But at least I'm going to get those completely settled before I move on. And in all of these books, there is this concept of looking at your business from the outside and above. So take yourself out of being the technician, take yourself out of being the order taker and actually doing that work to looking at it as a whole, as what does it look like and how does it work? So not from within. And the way these authors write, they really try to get your mindset to see your business from that angle. And as you grow in your own business and your knowledge, you'll attract different clients. So as you understand these business concepts and how businesses should run, then you will, again, start spotting those red flags in clients. You'll start having different conversations and opening up better clientele. And I think, Jeremy, this is going to be a big one for you. And for anyone who's struggling with really getting those clients, is that if like attracts like. And so if we ourselves don't know these business concepts, how are we going to be able to attract those who do? And if we do attract really top CEOs and big clients, they're then going to look at us as a technician, and they're going to start looking at us as a design slave, as I call it, because we don't know anything about business. And so I really suggest you guys educate yourself on business if this is the route you want to take, because otherwise you're going to be looked at as the freelancer and as the person to just execute if you can't speak on their level. And so I talked about being in survival mode, and then knowing how a solid business is built will enable me to connect with those ideal clients. So I had already said that. And being seen as an equal and not an order taker. So this goes for networking events. This goes for business groups that you're in. If you don't know this stuff, you won't even know when it pops up in a conversation. I never knew. I heard people talk about processes, like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. but I never knew all of this and the things that were taught in these books. And now I have different conversations with people, especially in those like networking events or when I meet other business owners. So before I get to next steps, I'm going to let someone in and then you guys can ask a question if you have one. And I will check the chat as well. But any questions before we move on? No, I'm glad you guys are here. Thank you. No questions. Okay. So next steps. These are the next steps I'm taking with those things that I have learned. I have a list of things. Some of them are marked off because I've already done them, but I'm just showing you the list of things I'm working on currently to get myself to a place where, again, I feel comfortable, I feel confident, and I have my services standardized as well as my processes. So if you read my newsletter, I mentioned about the primary aim, and this is the primary aim of your life. So if you were to write up what you wanted people to say about you at your funeral, what would that be? What kind of a person would you want to be? How would you want to live your life? What would you want to be said about you? This doesn't necessarily, it's not about business. It's about you and your life and what you want for your life, because your business is down here. This is your life, right? Your business is down here and it connects. It has to align with what you want for your life. So your business is not your life. Shouldn't be. So that's why we start off with the primary aim. And so I wrote one of mine out. I've sent it to a few of you that have asked. It's usually pretty, well, mine was long. I don't know if everyone's is long. Broken up into bullet points, and it's personal, but that's how everyone should be. So I encourage you guys, if you wanted to do this, to take some time, write out your primary aim. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, a plan is better than no plan at all. The next thing is the strategic objective. So both of 1 and 2 were taken from the EMyth. So I'm kind of making my own list based off of what I've learned from those 3 books. The strategic objective is what you want your business to look like, or how does it need to look to achieve that primary aim. Because you want to make sure that whatever business or businesses or career that you do lines up with that primary aim. And if it doesn't, then ditch it, go do something else, or do something else that will get you closer to that primary aim. This is also good to gauge if something is a worthwhile opportunity. If someone approaches you and talks about going into a partnership with you, or they want you to collaborate on a project, you want to know if you should say yes or no to it. And so having the strategic objective really does help, and also the primary aim. So the third thing that I'm going to do is outline my service offerings and descriptions of all of them. So I'm going to outline those 3 services that I want to be an expert at, and write them down in detail. So what I did was I just opened up a Word doc and I just started writing what it is. I put brand strategy. Okay, what does that include? And I started writing what it includes. Okay, what does that look like? Wrote that down. What's the process of the actual day? What are the deliverables? Then I was thinking, and I started going in, I went through and I went back in depth into each process. Okay, well, what's before it? Well, the onboarding process. Oh, that's going to be another process. And then getting ready for it. What do I need? What presentations do I need? Do I need an assistant? If I need an assistant, how far in advance do I need them? So as I started doing that, I started quantifying each of those things. So for instance, prepping the files or getting the folders together. That should only take like 5-10 minutes, right? If I had my templates, so I put 5 minutes. Or getting, getting a hotel room if I had to book one, because my last strategy session I did, how far in advance do I need to book that? Okay, if I know I have to book, I should be booking a couple weeks in advance, then that means that I need a 2-week buffer. When I book a strategy session with a client, they know that they're not going to have their strategy session for 2 weeks. And then I outlined every week what strategy looks like. So after the first week in the strategy sessions, then we'll have a 1-hour check-in or whatever it is. But I started planning out the timeline and then quantifying again every single line item with timing. And then if it is, I will eventually put how much each of those things cost me to do, whether that's my own time or whether that's the time of someone else. So I'm going to put all that. And if I have to rent a room or a meeting room, I'm going to have meeting rooms already set that are go-tos for me to call and book. So then I'm going to have the prices of all those meeting rooms, because then I can start quantifying how much does each strategy session actually cost me to put on. So then I know actually what am I making from it? And so that means putting in my time as well as all of the little stuff that I have to buy for it. So I'm going to do that for brand strategy, identity and identity systems, and then customer experience. So those are my 3 services that I'm going to be providing and becoming the expert at. And I'm going to be doing that by documenting my processes and doing what I just told you, really. So number 4, there was a 1-page business plan that I had sent in my newsletter a couple weeks ago. I will be going through that. It's just a light business plan. Then I'll be going through brand strategy. I'm going to have a friend do it for me. I did have a friend run through brand strategy with me a few months ago before my rebrand. And so if you have a really good group of friends, especially if you're in a Futur group, I know some of you are from the Futur Pro group, find somebody in there, find a group of people, and do strategy for each other on your own businesses. It really does help. And it's not a one and done. Like, you do it once, and then as you grow, you'll probably need it again, because we start learning stuff and then we have to reposition or repivot or so many things. Our ideal client changes. So it's not just a one thing and then never revisit it again. You can do it again. So I will be doing that for my business. I'm even open to changing my name if that's what comes out of the strategy session, but because people know me as Marks and Maker, I probably won't. We'll see. Then there's the org chart that is from the EMyth, which is really cool. This is something that I didn't even think about for a business of my size. I thought, oh, well, I'll just grow and then I'll do the org chart as I grow. No, don't do that. And I had no idea that I should do it this way. So how they described it in the book is you are the shareholder because you're the owner. So you write your name and then you put a line, because the shareholder doesn't necessarily have to work in a business to own a business. So then you have the position of CEO. And then you have, I just started this, so I don't have anything filled out yet. But the 3 different departments I have are marketing and sales, finance, and my services. So branding and everything that goes under services. And then underneath it, so this would be technically all the managers that manage those departments. And then you have the people who actually do it. So the technicians. And whether you realize it or not, your business currently has something like this going already. It just has your name in all of those things. So the idea is write out if you know all of your services, you know every single thing that you have to do in your business, you can then make an org chart, which will have your name in all of the positions if you're a team of 1, and that's okay, because you have to take yourself seriously. You can't expect anyone else, your employees or your clients, to take you seriously if you don't take you seriously. So in the EMyth, it says write out all of the positions that make up your company and make it run, and then write your name in all of them, and then go through and write a job description. And that's why I'm doing my service breakdown first, because I can't do a job description if I don't even know the services that they're going to be doing or what my company offers. So then I will have a description of each, and then they say in EMyth to write a contract, like a position contract, and then you sign your name on the contract. Again, taking yourself seriously. And then as you hire people, you would hire people from the bottom up. And so you would fill this position, the lowest position, the easiest thing, production, assistant work, admin stuff. You would start filling in the very low paying jobs that you can offshore really, really quickly and really easily. And then when they hire them, even if it's a freelancer, you can have them sign that position contract. Like, this is what it entails. This is what the job description is, so on and so forth. I'm just going to check the chat really quick. Is a service breakdown like your package options or tiers of services? Yes, it is similar. So yes, it would be almost like packages, but for the service processes, it goes deeper, and that's stuff that you wouldn't necessarily show to your client. So yes, you would first have your service offering, what that is. And then when you break it down into the process, that's stuff for internal use only, and how you actually deliver on that. And then I'll go through the end. So yes, the org chart, the job descriptions, the position contracts, operations manual for each of those job descriptions. So you would actually have an operations manual. And if you've documented all of your processes, then this should be really easy for you to hand off to somebody. And so this has been my question for so many months, is how do I hire someone when I have to take so much time to explain to them what it is they need to do? Well, if I had operations manuals, and I understand that for designers it might be a little different case, but there are so many things admin-wise, that I could get an assistant to do that I don't currently have them do because I don't have anything written down. And even with a designer, if you get a talented designer and you have an operations manual, like this is the program, we use Asana, and to make a new project, you duplicate the template and you do XYZ, then you could potentially even hire a designer and make this whole process super easy for not only them, but for you. And also when and how they invoice you and when you pay out, all of that type of thing. What about the culture or way of work you expect in each position? That, it's a good question. I'll let you know when I get there. I don't know. I think that is, if you read the EMyth, that would be done when you hire a person, that you let them know the idea of the company, what they stand for, how they do what they do. I think it's in that time that when you're hiring the person, that's when you would check for culture and a good fit in that way, and how you like your standards. I think standards of operation would be that too. It's almost like the principles that your business works under. And then there's processes. So this is similar to the service processes. There are hard systems. So that's templates. Branding is a hard system. Attire, non-living things are hard systems. Soft systems are service processes, scripts, sales process, marketing process, informational systems. That's the data that you're gathering from the soft and hard systems to gauge the health of the business. So like I said, quantifying everything. That would be a soft system. And then lastly, I'll be designing all my templates. I don't know if all these, I'm going to change the order. I might change the order eventually, but at least those are the things that I have on my list to do right now to get my processes in order. And so what I did was I made notes of each of my services. So this is what I'm currently doing. So right here, you'll see, I just started with notes, just writing out what all those entail. I had a list from my newsletter a few weeks ago of what I'm going to include in all my processes. It's like requirements, actors, so people who have to participate in that process, tools and supplies, steps, the intro of like what's the goal of this process, and then a revision date. So if you don't remember that, go back to one of the old newsletters. I have that in there. So I started with that template, and then I started filling it in. Once I refine it, I'm going to create an Excel template document to quantify each project. So that's going to be for internal use, to put in how many people are attending the workshop, which means how much food do they need, which means how big is the conference room that we need? Is it going to be on-site? Is it going to be off-site? So then I can start looking through and seeing who I can hire out for which thing, or know how much money it's going to cost me to actually put on that strategy session. From there, once that is done, I'm going to make a template of that, and I'm going to duplicate it for each new project. I may have a master calendar in there, but I'm not sure, just to see how long each thing takes. And then if we have a push in the timeline that I can extend it in there. I'm not sure yet if my master calendar will live in there or Asana, because that is, again, for quantifying. And then when I actually get into workflow of working with, say, a freelancer or my designer, or even just myself, I'm going to make a template in Asana just for workflow. So that's not going to have anything to do with quantifying. Maybe it might have the timing, as far as it's going to have the timing for sure, like timelines and whatnot, but they're not going to see like how much does each thing cost, because the designers don't need to know any of that. They just need to know, what are they getting paid and when is it due, and all of the details of the project. So that's right now how I'm going to set up my systems, like a behind the scenes to quantify for myself, and then a workflow for designers. So that is what I'm doing. And now we are on a Q&A. So that is it. Thank you for listening to all of that. So now you guys are free. You're free to ask me whatever you want, or each other, or if you have suggestions. I am all open.
Okay. I did it again.
No problem.
Okay, you can go first. No issues.
I'm sorry. How long, like, could you quantify how many hours it took you to do all of this process documenting? Or
the documenting, I've just scratched the surface, so probably a few hours. Now, to give you guys a really look into this, the people that I was talking about, Trina and Gretchen, oh my gosh, I saw their processes and it was unreal. She showed me everything, like how they do payroll and how they balance everything from PayPal to their checking account and all that. Everything is done. She said she's been working through it along with working over the past year. So if that gives you an idea, and there's 3 of them full-time that work at that place, but there's only, I think, 1 person who's doing the processes. So I know she's actually like working and doing that too, but it's not something that is quick at all, especially if you're actually doing business. So if you're doing business, so that's why now I realize, oh, this is why it takes so long for some people to launch a business, because they're actually building it like, a house, not like just walking in and like a designer would. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to start a business. But really you're just a glorified freelancer because you haven't actually laid the foundation and have all these systems in places. And you just think you're going to hire another freelancer to be a duplicate you. That's not how it works. So does that help? A few hours? I'm not even like deep into it yet.
No, absolutely. That helps.
So, yes. Who else had a question?
Okay. So, I just wanted to ask, like, how much of what's your team size right now, and how much of them are like permanent clients, or how much do you freelance or outsource?
So how many clients I have, or how many people?
No. How many employees do you have, and on your team right now, and how much of the work like you outsource basically to freelancers or other agencies?
I currently am the only employee. I don't have anyone full time with me yet because I have been in chaos, and thank God I didn't hire anyone because they would have been in my chaos as well. I do have freelancers that I call on. I have one that I consistently call on now. But I have a group of probably it depends. It depends on what the work is, but probably under 5 that I would trust to hire with things. And then because I'm specializing now in these services, I'm going to have me on brand strategy. I'm going to have a designer, the one that I work with a lot, on identity. And then I'm going to have someone on customer experience. But it's all going to be freelance for now. And currently, in my vision of the future, I really only see myself hiring 1 full-time person, and that will be the identity designer. So that could change, but that's my vision at the moment. And potentially an assistant, and then I'm going to refer out all web. I have an agency here that I'm going to refer to, and we've worked out a commission thing. So when I refer clients, they'll give me a commission for that. And yeah, that's what I have. Very small.
So basically, you currently are you fill all the columns in the table.
I currently fill out all of my org chart. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Any other questions?
Okay, yeah, no, not a question exactly. Excuse my lighting and the echoing. I'm still setting up my studio, but I'm still, yeah, you're definitely ahead of me. But I'm not I don't intend on having freelancers with me at all, at least for a year, till I hit 100,000 mark or something. But it's still when I started documenting my process, by accident, just a client was asking me what I'm gonna do for him, and I just implemented the strategy after watching like a couple of your videos with Chris Do. So I wrote down, like I knew in my head what I'm gonna do, and I was doing it to clients before, but I added stuff to it. I learned like copywriting so I can like analyze like other products and what actually customers need from them and stuff like this. And then like I just once I wrote down the process, I found myself like improving the process, better communicating it to them. And this not only in this job, like a couple of days ago, I started to process my financial flow, like having this money for investment, having this money to like fix it to live on, and stuff like this. So while I'm still like will work alone, yeah, processes like helped me a lot, and yeah, it will definitely go on with me. I'll start like documenting more and more, reading. Like I had these books on my reading list, so I'll read and try to improve it as I go. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I completely agree with you. Even if you're a team of one and you plan on staying as a team of one, I highly recommend you still documenting your processes for your very reasons. The other thing is that you will come across to clients as you actually know what you're doing, and you will believe it yourself because you're like, I know what this is going to take to actually get this done. No, I cannot budge on this. No, I can't do it any faster. No, I can't do it any cheaper. And I know that it gives results. And it's really interesting how once you have those processes and like you had said, you tweak it along the way, that you know how good it is then because you actually have it documented. Whereas previously when you're like, just raise your prices. Well, okay, but if nothing was documented, it's like, how do I even know it was good? I don't even know that.
Yeah. And also like the very first steps was like self-discovery, like my vision. I'm still working towards this. Like I've been working on it for a couple of months, but like also documenting this stuff helped me like saying no to like clients I don't want to. I niche it down to products I'm really like passionate about working with, like the kind of like I'm working in the I help small e-commerce businesses who sell physical products. So I specialized in the products under design/tech category that actually adds something that solves a real pain, not the ones that just I don't know, like you see like products just thrown out at the market. But I ask the clients for a product that I will use myself to benefit from it. And these type of products, I'm very happy and passionate to work with. So it filtered a lot. It filtered a lot of clients, and the one I choose to work with, the project worked like super smoothly. With like I know this fits my like personal vision. Like I can help them because of the processes. So everything like started to work out great.
That's wonderful. I love hearing that. Thank you for sharing that, Brad. Can we share our processes on Google Drive so we don't have to reinvent from scratch? So here's the thing. You could technically use someone else's processes. I don't recommend that though. I recommend you actually building your own. Like build your own because you'll own it and you'll have that ownership of it. So I suggest everyone make their own processes. Like I can share my templates, but not my process because if my business is my product, then that's technically proprietary information. And so you want that how you do things to be just for you. So we can share templates, totally fine. But I don't recommend you taking anyone else's actual process because that's the way they've developed it. That's the way they think and how their brain works and how they connect with their ideal client. That doesn't work for everyone else. Do you recommend any other books for working on the onboarding steps? Currently, no. These are more overarching things, and so I'm starting there, and I don't have anything for very specific things because onboarding is a specific process, and that's just one tiny piece of all of the processes. So is branding. Branding is one piece and one process out of the whole thing. So as we start to understand that, then we can better, again, relate to our clients and see when a business is in chaos and that it might not be branding that can solve that. It might be that they're in chaos because of how they run their processes or how they don't have processes. So what else? Any other questions you guys have? Anything at all?
Okay, I got another one.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, last month I kind of did, I think, good as like good amount of like revenue. Not your kind of good, but my kind of good. Okay.
Hey, we don't need to compare. It's fine.
Definitely. But I was not really actually enjoying working for clients because of definitely some of the problems that I had, and I also discussed with you. But this month I started like midway through. I have not done anything, and mostly I'm saying no to more clients. And I recently finished the Win Without Pitching manifesto, and currently I'm practicing the retreat and follow, and it's it's only being retreat and no follow. So is there something wrong that I'm doing, or I don't know?
That's a good question. I have done the same thing where the retreat and follow, where you like act like you don't really want the job and you kind of back away, and then you realize that they never followed you and you're like, well, dang it, I thought this was supposed to work. There is I have done that, and I've done it too many times where it happens, same thing, where I backed away and I'm like, no one's following me. Oh no. And once I don't even know how to describe that. It's like once it happens the right way, you're like, oh, that's what it's supposed to be like. And it's that moment when you're selling, but you're not selling. It does not feel like selling. It feels like a conversation. And you end up seeing, oh, I didn't go in desperate. And that's what the idea behind retreat and follow is. You don't go into a sales conversation desperate for the job. And I don't think it's necessarily going, oh, I don't know, I don't think I'm the right person, like maybe we should not do this. It's the attitude that you bring into it, that you're saying it in your attitude. So I don't know. That's a good question. I'm still figuring it out too. So if we ever figure it out, like for reals, let us know. Brad,
I want to add, I want to add on this because like I implemented this recently. Like of course, like I'm working on a small, like with small clients rather than you. I know you're working with bigger, but the idea I think is the same, which is like going in with the mindset of just helping them. Like this, once I implemented this, like I am like the clients I'm willing to work with. I actually want to help them. I'm not gonna I'm not trying to upsell them on something they don't need or whatever. Like if I can't help them, I'll say I will tell them no. And like just the mindset, like it comes across the conversation. They know that I'm not just I'm not trying to take the job or take their money. Sometimes I push back, and not sometimes, a lot. They just wanted to use this tool to pay me for other thing, and I push back on it. This is not gonna help you, stuff like this. Like I like a lot of times I tell them to decrease the scope of the project because it will make more sense until we get more data. Like after writing a landing page and designing like a minimal viable landing page or whatever, stuff like this. So like only the mindset. I've seen like not only Chris Du, but a lot of people are talking about this. It's coming from Buddhism, a lot of religions, but like once this is the mindset, like everything was going like I'm not I'm over, like I'm super confident because I'm not trying to sell them at all. I'm just trying to help, and if they're the right fit for me, yeah, money is like a side effect. Like I need the money to live on so I can continue to help you, and that's all. So yeah, this mindset like shifted everything for me. So
yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think too, if you're able to bring in more, I mean, obviously, if we could bring in more leads, it would solve a lot of problems. But it does help. Even like I am doing, and which I have told you guys about in my newsletter, I've been doing these free 30-minute consultations with startup fashion designers. I have not made one sale yet, not one. But you know what it has taught me? It's taught me to talk to people without pitching them and to get in that mindset. So get leads in. However you have to get the leads in. Maybe even get leads in that you're thinking, I'm not even going to pitch to them at all. I'm just going to help them and give them value. And then you'll start to learn about how people think. You're going to start to just have conversations so that you can learn how to talk to them and then how to change the conversation next time, or what maybe, like Brad had said, in the mindset that needs to change for you. So talk to as many people as possible, because when you don't, say you only have one lead and it's make it or break it. Like if you land that lead, that's awesome. But if you don't, you can't eat for the next month. That's not good. So we need a lot of leads to learn how to talk to people too. It'll help. So if you can do that, that would be really good. Let's do one more question, because I want to respect your guys' time and mine as well. So one more question and then we will end, but I will have this recorded. So if you need to go back. Yes. Hello.
Hi. I was wondering, how important is it to have a mentor or a coach? Because I've seen the videos where you're with Chris, but I don't know if you're still continuing that or not. But I was wondering, is it a key thing to get in the start of your business, or do you have like a business coach or like a mentor just for design, or is there something specific that you would recommend?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I don't see Chris on a regular basis, but I do, like, we'll call each other a lot. He'll check up on me, and if I have any questions, I can always call him. So I am lucky in that way. And I would suggest people get a coach or a mentor or something. Like, you need someone who is farther along, who has seen things and understands those things to give you a heads up. Because the hard part, and what I even told Chris, I said, how am I supposed to grow when I don't have a vision and I don't even know what I want? Because I can't see it because I've never experienced it. So a mentor will help you see what is even possible and those roadblocks along the way. So yes, I do suggest getting a mentor. You don't necessarily have to have it official. You don't have to pay them. You can find someone who's just willing to give you of their time. I also consider Aaron Atchison from Farm one of my mentors. Also Fabian Gearhalter. Like, I've reached out to a lot of people that have been on Chris's show because they have different things that I want to learn from, because Chris is absolutely amazing, but he's only one person and he only has one viewpoint. And so I want to get other people's experiences to see how can I mold them together and make like a superhuman, you know? So,
but all three of them are in different fields though, or are they all in design? I don't know the other two.
Farm. So Aaron is in consumer goods and design, branding, packaging. Fabian is in brand strategy and identity. So they all overlap. They're all brand strategy, identity, and design.
Did you get a lot of mixed opinions then?
Oh, yes. Very, like I'll sit down with one of them and they'll be like, well, what he told you is completely wrong. I'm like, oh my gosh. So you take from one, you learn, well, why did he think that? And you realize, oh, he's just a completely different personality. And he deals with his business in this way. And then I learned that this other person dealt with their business in this way because, you know, they are a self-admitted micromanager. So they're like, I don't want a huge team because I just don't like that. I don't like working with a ton of people. So you start learning that businesses are built on people's personalities. And then when you talk to a bunch of them, you'll realize who you connect more with, because you're not going to connect with everybody. And then the other thing I would suggest from that is I would definitely suggest a group. So I had mentioned that I was going to talk about a mastermind group. I have not fully formed that idea yet, but I wanted to propose it to you guys that I have gotten so much out of not only having Chris as my mentor and coach, but from the pro group. Like, I have received so much value. So I think if you're going to do this, you get a coach and a mentor, coach or mentor, whatever you want to call it. And then you have a group, whatever that is. So it's very similar to like the support group model of like AA or those kind of groups where you have a sponsor and then you have an accountability group. Very similar to that idea, but it works. Like it works for them. It works for us. It's the good model. So I did want to propose or just open up the conversation to potentially starting a mastermind group. But yeah, what has helped me is being in the larger pro group and having all of those views. But then not only that, a lot of us have broken off into our subgroups. So my group has like 5 or 6 girls in it right now. And we usually meet once a week or once every other week. And we're all on very similar places in our career. Some of us are ahead. And so, or them really, they're ahead of me. So I can learn from them. So I wanted to propose it to you guys and people who are on my email list that is potentially something I might offer or start. I don't know what that would look like. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh, great. That would be awesome. Yeah. So good to know. If you guys are interested in the mastermind, shoot me an email and just tell me what you're looking for. Are you looking for something? Because it would meet on Zoom similar to this. I don't know how often yet. And my idea was, because I've been in mastermind groups where it's just ongoing, very much similar to the pro group. And then I've been in mastermind groups where we have a topic. It's a 3-month thing. You commit to it and you have a goal for those 3 months. And so what I was thinking is I want to get my processes as far as possible by 3 months. And I want people that want to do that as well to be in that mastermind. So that's initially how the first mastermind I was thinking would go. It'd be a 3-month commitment. And then we would all get our processes nailed down by the end of those 3 months. So that's the idea. But then there's also thoughts of there could be a Slack group, there could be a big group, there could be something, very similar to the pro group. But I think when it's too many people, then we're not all on the same page and we're not working towards the same goal. I'd rather it very small, concentrated, and we have an end goal, like get our processes done. Like I'm done with like meeting in groups and not getting anywhere. Like I just want to get things going. So yes, please email me any ideas or thoughts on that or what you're looking for or yeah, so I'm still toying with it and thinking through it, but I'm open. You guys, this has been so great. Thank you for coming and listening to letting me geek out over this stuff because it is so fun to be able to share in stuff that I like with other people that are into it too. So thank you. Thanks for your comments. I will be posting this, I think, on YouTube and then giving you guys the link in the newsletter. So I'll be doing that. So yeah, you guys will get it somehow in the newsletter. I don't know where it will be hosted, but you will get it. So I just need time to download it and everything. But thank you. And you'll see me around Instagram and I don't know, wherever else I'm at, my newsletter. Yeah. Thanks, you guys. Maybe I'll do this again. If I write about something that you want me to do a talk like this on, email me and let me know because sometimes I just do this on a whim and I don't have a process yet for this. But I'm trying to talk to you guys about what I'm learning in my business. So at least if my business is structured, that this can be more of like a fluid conversation. But I don't know. I'll get myself together one day. But thank you for coming and following along with my journey. I'm really thankful for you guys. And you guys help, like you guys showing up for this helps push me forward to keep doing what I do. Because when you're just doing it by yourself, it's like you could totally slack off. But the fact that I'm accountable to other people and I'm choosing to show and teach you guys what I learn, that it makes me keep going. So thank you. I have to give you guys credit. So thank you for that. I got to go, but I appreciate you all. We'll see you somewhere. Bye.